Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for the French Grand Prix today, and welcome to the very first department event of the day, as I jumped in a little earlier while recording the intro. But welcome back. It's been a few weeks, but we're here again. I want to pump out a couple of videos within the next 2-3 weeks, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm going to be focusing a lot on recording these videos, but we're here doing the activities timeline, and I want to talk to you about the past 2 episodes. So if you've made it this far and you haven't seen the last episode yet, go right now or I'll spoil it for you. We've had 2 races in a row now where we've gotten points. We finished 4th at Azerbaijan, I think, yes. And we finished 6th at Canada last episode. Meaning that we have 2 races in the points now. And France is another track that I go pretty well at. It's a very weird track. I either go very well at it or I go very bad at it. So we're in for a surprise. We're in with also a very good shot of points. But of course, as you might have seen there, Austria is the next race. And a lot of people go well around Austria, but I don't. But that's next episode. Today we're here for France, and today we're also here for a secondary sponsor, as we've hit a claim level 10, of course, in the last episode. And I'm just checking out a couple of these. I'm not looking for something that is too hard. Like, I really want to get the goal bonus. It's a big part, and the weekly income doesn't really... Well, it doesn't change a whole lot. Of course, it's good to have something high, but I really care about the goal bonus and it being something that I can do every single race to make sure that we have a steady income. And I think that, well, we passed this sort there, which we already have. There's a couple of interesting ones here, but a lot of these involve points, and points aren't guaranteed, but this one, complete 10 laps as a team during a race weekend, is very easy on the other hand. So we are going to sign Polar then, and we're going to put the sponsor on our car. You can see it there at the front on the side. Next to the wheels, we have got the Polar on, I think, the rear wing. It's on the halo as well, and on the front wing. So we've got 4 spots that say Polar now. I think it's on the rear wing, I'm not 100% sure. Can I catch a glimpse? Not really, no. But I think it's supposed to be there. And otherwise it is definitely on the front wing. We finished 7th at Canada. Okay, 7th. 33 points now, doing very well actually, up in P7 now in the Drivers' Championship. Really pulling our, what's a low field car actually, pulling it up into the midfield and even the top cars. So doing really well there, but let's see if we can get even more points today. So we're going to advance through the calendar. We're going to do all of our events, we're going to get our resources, and we're going to go into some R&D, I think, here. As we've also got another powertrain department, which is quite stupid, really. 750 points really isn't worth the 20% morale, so we're going to skip that. And we're going to get the control electronics upgrade on the durability side of things. And we're going to do another upgrade on the durability side of things, because all of our facilities are practically at max. And we've got this turbo here, which actually costs only 7. Very cheap. So we're just going to do that before we get even more discounts, of course, in this practice session for the French Grand Prix. But let's just go into practice and let's see what we get. As here we are already, power of editing. I completed all my practice programs, did 7 of the development boosts, so I missed 2. And Jack Aitken once again performing pretty poorly already in practice. So really showing that he is still very much an F2 driver and maybe not yet fit for Formula 1. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, as we are of course approaching the mid-season, the summer break, and there's a space there for us to maybe hire someone new, maybe stick with Jack Aitken if we believe he can improve, but we're going to have to see as we gain our acclaim, of course, working towards that level 15 where we can get another sponsor, which is what we're, well, working towards if we really want it. But welcome to qualifying now for the French Grand Prix, a very important one, as you really want to have track position here, but also there's the issue of, can you do one stop from the softs to hards maybe? Or are you forced into a 2-stop and losing a lot of time? So that's something you gotta keep account of. So maybe not making it into Q3 is the better move here for our team. And we're gonna see, can we make it into Q2 in the first place, of course. And I think this lap, it wasn't too great, it's not too good. It was really quite average lap. But I really hope that we can make it into Q2 with this one. So we have even more sets of tires to use in Q2. As right now we are in P3 ahead of Vettel and Schumacher, so we almost made contact with Gasly, but we're taking the gamble on that one lap. And in P13 then we are indeed making it into Q2. Jack Aitken in P20, once again showing that he might just not be a good fit for Formula 1. As he is once again being passed by Mick Schumacher in the Haas in P17, and even the 2 Alfa Romeos are up there now, with one of them making it into Q2 with me. As now here we are. We've got 2 sets of softs for this new session. I'm just gonna try to make it into Q3 because of course it's always a good advantage. But we're gonna have to see what we're gonna do with our stops, of course, if we're gonna go for a 1 stop or a 2 stop. I'm not sure yet which is better. Usually the 2 stop is better, faster. But I think France is one of those tracks where the 1 stop really is a lot more efficient. So we're gonna have to see. It's going to be P5 then after that first lap, which is not enough. We're in P11 as the session comes to a close. And we haven't really gained much. First red sector, green second sector. As we're now almost a tenth up there on the delta, but we're losing a lot as we catch a bit of the curb here. Into the final 2 corners and this right-hander, which is very tricky. You really don't want to mess up, but I don't mess it up and I make up another 1. And working toward 2 tenths actually that we're going up here. But is it going to be enough to get us into Q3? Is it enough to take over Norris? Unfortunately, it's not. We're here in P11. We're out in Q2 just about. It's not even a tenth off, but we are going to be in P11 then. And we do get a free choice of tire, which may actually come in clutch. We may see a repeat of what happened in Bahrain, of course, if you remember. The very first race of the season where we got a podium. But before we go into the race then, let's turn our damage up to simulation for the remainder of this entire series. We're going to be driving simulation damage, as it just brings us a lot more, well, crashes and hopefully excitement. But let's go into the race.
Time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Gasly, Norris, Ricciardo and the Rainmaster, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sebastian Vettel and Stroll, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi and Fernando Alonso. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Russell, Aitken, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Welcome to the grid then for the French Grand Prix. We're here as Fernando Alonso took a grid penalty, actually going even further down the grid. We are now in P10, being the only driver in the top 10 on mediums. So we have a good race ahead of us. Like I mentioned, we may see a repeat of Bahrain here before the 5 red lights were away. And Ricciardo on the left of us has a pretty shit start, but I mess up something on my gear shifts as well. So he overtakes us. Tsunoda on the left having a massive start. We're going to dive on the inside of both of them as Raikkonen there actually has a little peak on our left side. Going way off track here. But we're behind Tsunoda then as he has overtaken us with a massive launch, and Ricciardo pulled away just a little better than we did. And here we are then moving around the outside of Tsunoda, of course, also on the medium, so a pretty fair matchup. And we make a beautiful move around the outside, really, so we're now back ahead and in P10, back into the points. Already looking very strong at the start of the Grand Prix. I'm feeling very, very fast. Leading the entire pack of people on mediums, of course, as the entire top 9 there is on the soft compounded tire. As Tsunoda has another peak on our inside, but decides to go just behind us as we're chasing Ricciardo then. But let's look at a replay of the start then for Max Verstappen, because my god has he gotten away. He's just got a couple of tenths there into the first 2 corners already and is really pulling away, showing of course that he won those first 4 races of the season. He has a massive lead in the drivers' championship, sorry. And already showing that he is very much the dominant driver on track right now in the dominant car. Already having a couple tenths into the first couple of corners. But here we are then on lap 3. We are still chasing Ricciardo. Tsunoda 2 seconds behind us. There's yellow flags behind onto lap 4. Something has gone on. Someone has gone off or has an engine failure. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, clear.
As we're still chasing Ricciardo into the kind of chicane here. As Fernando Alonso is out of the session. The Alpine really not in luck. Already took a grid penalty. Had to start P18 and now he's DNF'd from the race as his engine just said pop on the straight and will be DNFing on the left there. Chasing his teammate Ocon actually, who's doing a much better job right now. I think he started in P11 Ocon, but there we see the smoke coming out of the car of Alonso as he parks it up on the left there. Just out of frame really, very unlucky camera work. But here we are then chasing Ricciardo still. On lap 5 this is, as Tsunoda is now in 11th and Raikkonen actually in 12th with the Alfa Romeo, really doing a great job. pulling that car. As Ricciardo kind of spooked me there. I didn't expect the stops already, because I was more following him than the race line. But he's going in, and so are a lot of other people. We see a Red Bull and a Mercedes if we look on the minimap. As we are now up into P5 then, chasing Sainz rather than Norris. Still kind of catching up. If you look at the minimap, the other 4 drivers are still in range. They are not really that far out, only like 5 seconds maybe. So once these guys also go into the softs, which will be on lap 6 then 1 lap later, we see that they are indeed in as well. And we are going to be going into P1 actually on lap 6 of this race. We are now leading the French Grand Prix. This is something I surely didn't expect, but here we are. We've got a couple people on softs which are all switching to mediums then, as they are all on a 2-stop, so soft to hard is indeed not possible, meaning that they will be on a 2-stop. But here we are then, lap 11. We are literally in no man's land. There's no one here. I'm all by myself, and I'm really just driving, as you're about to see something very embarrassing, as I actually shoot myself off the track there, while I'm not being pressured or anything. Because I think the first person behind is Max Verstappen on like 11 seconds. No, it's Ocon actually. Verstappen is behind, but just a little further. So Ocon on 8 seconds doing a massive job pulling his Alpine up there. But on lap 12 then, we now go in for the 1-stop of course, because we're going from mediums to hards and we're going to be finishing the race on that. As Ocon and Tsunoda are also in then. As Verstappen will be taking the lead and Vettel actually continuing for another lap. Surprised me, but he's doing it anyway as we're here for the stop. Just a clean stop, nothing, no front wing damage or anything. We're just going onto the hards and finishing the race on these, hopefully. As we're being overtaken by Hamilton there. And Leclerc, as we're going to come out right besides the Ferrari, actually. He's right there in the rear view mirror, of course, if you're checking it. And he tries to overtake us into turn 1 and 2, but doesn't quite make it work. So we're still in the lead. We're in P5 now on lap 13. Behind the 2 Mercedes and 1 Red Bull and Vettel then that was. As we are now going through the kind of section which requires a lot of downforce, as I am actually driving with the increased downforce around France. I think it just gives me that edge in these downforce kind of sections, and we do need to deliver a bit on the straight of course, as we can see Leclerc there actually catching up with me because of it. And he's got DRS, so he's going to try to overtake us in the second downforce section of this track. But first we got this weird kind of chicane as we now go on to the second straight. And into that downforce section I was talking about with the very hard turn where you need to kind of be half on the throttle. But here we are. Once again, Leclerc in the rear view mirror is 2/10, only 1/10. He's gonna overtake us actually just before the second downforce section. So we are now behind the Ferrari driver from Monaco, I guess. But he is doing a better job at it. But I actually have a separate strategy here where I take the inside of this corner sometimes. And it has delivered me some overtakes in the past. Don't quite make it work here. So we're still behind Leclerc then. As he is kind of pulling away with 7/10 now. As he's going into the pits. As already the pit stop window for the second round of pit stops has come. I didn't notice. I had no clue this was going to happen. But we're here anyway. Perez still behind. He's continuing on for another lap. I think Norris was continuing on as well. No, he's not. He's in the pits as well. Verstappen in the pits. Hamilton in the pits. No, Norris is there. Yeah, I was right. But Perez is still here right behind us. He's going to try to make a move. But while all that was happening, on lap 15 onto 16, Jack Aitken here actually making a move on the Haas of Nikita Mazepin for P20. Showing that Jack really might just not be doing a good job and might actually have to leave the team during the summer break, where we're going to have to see, I guess, a few more episodes, 2 more, and then you'll see what we're going to do. Then I'll see what I'm going to do. But for now, he is still with us, so we really do hope that he can maybe get some points for us. Changing my current opinion on him. But lap 17, then Perez is now very much going in, and Verstappen 3.5 seconds behind and chasing. Neither of us have to make another pit stop, so this is going to be a fair fight once he does catch up for about 10 more laps. And on lap 19, then here we are, he has caught up with us on to lap 20. 7 laps to go, he's going to try to make a move on the inside in turn 1, doesn't quite make it work. As we are now here, he is here, the fight has begun. Speeste v Red Bull, here we are. On the mediums, of course, he is. We're on the hards as we make a kind of a dive bomb here, as we're side by side throughout the entirety of the first downforce section, as we try and make a move on our inside, and we have damage. The front wing end plate has come off there. Yellow wing damage on the left there, you can see it, as we are still right behind Verstappen though. We are going to come in on this lap, because I'm not going to be doing another 7 laps on this front wing, but we are still catching up. We are still taking this fight as we confirm the pit stop. We are still moving past Verstappen, so we are still ahead. For now, we are going to come in for a set of soft tires for 7 laps, which is long on the soft tires around France because they wear out very, very fast. We're just going to try, might get into like red tires, right tire wear, but we'll see. As well, we really can't keep up with them during the second downforce section, so we are going to give up the position then and come in safely for our stop, not making any mistakes, slamming it into the wall again. As there we are, switching our front wing on lap 20, going down a lot of positions. P10 right now, as Perez and Ricard also overtake us into P12 if we come up right behind us. They are still fighting. And we're going to actually make a very beautiful move there on the outside of both of them as they slow each other down due to the fight. And we are back up into P10, chasing Lando Norris, of course, on the soft compounded tire. Very important that we catch up to him as we are now in P9, as Vettel was still ahead and has now also made a pit stop, I think that was. But ahead, Charles Leclerc is now out of the race in the Ferrari. We were once fighting him and now he's there on the side of the road. Presumably with an engine failure as well, so we are back up into P8, taking another free position. As he was actually fighting Sebastian Vettel there, a German, side by side with the man from Monaco. Into, I think that's the chicane, yeah, and he is ahead still. He is ahead of Vettel. There hasn't been any contact. I don't see any damage, but he parks it up there on the side. It's really weird. There's no smoke or anything. But he just decided it's been enough and parks it up next to the Aramco Sainz. So there goes the Ferrari driver. And Sainz remains to be the only one. As we've now got a purple first sector, green second sector in lap 23 this is. As we see Gasly and Norris fighting actually ahead. So they're going to be slowing each other down. Which is going to be a massive, massive gain for us.
There seems to be an issue with our ERS. The issue seems to be fixed, but we will keep monitoring it.
That spooked me for a second. I was afraid we were going to be the third driver with an engine failure to get out, but fortunately, we're not. It was only an ERS failure, so we're good for now. Though we can't use overtake mode, but in lap 24 then it is already back, so we can get back to fighting Gasly and Norris, as we have now definitely caught up to them. We can also see the Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri of Tsunoda up the road, actually. I think Vettel is the one being ahead here. As we are trying to make a move on Gasly. We are swarming him pretty much. Trying to make a move on the inside here. Maybe on the last turn here we can make a move around the outside. I've done it before, but not quite can we get around the outside. So it's going to be a bit of a drag race on the straight here. So we've got DRS, ERS and Slipstream trying to make a move here on the Frenchman in his home Grand Prix. And we are going to go side by side through turn 1, catching up to Norris even, almost hitting him in the back, but fortunately we managed to avoid that. As we have taken the AlphaTauri's position, and we are now chasing Lando Norris on lap 25 this is now. As we are very low on ERS, so we need to save as much as we can if we still want to make a move on Vettel and maybe even Tsunoda. But we do overtake Norris with a huge dive bomb there into the chicane, which is going to cost us a lot of speed onto the second straight here. Into the second downforce section, which I've mentioned a couple times now, as Norris actually comes back just before the second downforce section. He is going to get back his 6th place, so we are going to go up right behind him again as we are fighting him. He is on the mediums note, so he is a little faster than everyone we've overtaken thus far. As we are still very much behind the British driver trying to overtake his McLaren. We are definitely not supposed to be here, but we caught our car up the road this much because of that one stop we made, and even had to make a second stop due to damage. So we're doing a massive job putting this car up this far. But we are trying to overtake Norris then through the last turn onto the straight. DRS once again, 10% of ERS left, so we are not getting much speed out of that. But lap 26 then, we are still behind Norris and Vettel up the road. These are two people I really do want to catch because we really need the points, of course. But we are now almost side by side with Norris. We're going to try to go side by side through the first downforce section. Trying to make something of a switchback move. Moving around the outside again. Pretty much copying the move we made on Tsunoda on the first lap, of course, if you remember. And finishing it this time on Norris as well. As we are now chasing Vettel and trying to get rid of Norris behind us. But seeing as we are on the straight, we will have DRS. We should be fine now. And he should not come back at us. 1.5 laps to go. Chasing Vettel and still chasing Tsunoda, of course. Still, that would be a very nice move to make, as AlphaTauri are kind of our on-track rivals, of course. It would be really cool if we could overtake him as well. But overtaking Vettel would already give us a lot of points. And ahead of the second downforce section, and here we are. We're going side by side through the first corner here. as I kind of want to back out, but we are going to try and commit then, as we don't quite finish the move. And Vettel is going to remain ahead of us and back on the straight line onto lap 27. The last lap of the Grand Prix has now gone in, as we're going to go side by side through turn 1 maybe. We are going to try to go side by side. Don't make any contact, we don't want to encounter that simulation damage again. We do finish the move here. Side by side once again onto the first downforce section, and we're going to go with a little bit of a dive bomb, almost hitting our front wing there. But luckily just avoiding him. As we take the right hander, a little slower than normal, but the Aston Martin should not be fast enough, because he shouldn't even be here. I don't know why the Aston Martin here, but this man, Max Verstappen, has driven a flawless race. Turn 1, lap 1 of course, that massive gap of a couple tenths already, and has pretty much dominated this entire race besides from the fight with us. So he is going to claim his 5th win out of 7 races of the season, doing a massive job pulling his Red Bull up this far. Pulling the Red Bull still along in the first place in constructor standings, where we are going to come in P5 then. Once again taking massive points. There are 3 races in a row now, as we once again take home 10 more points, I think. Is that 10? That's 10, right? I think that's 10. Maybe 8. I don't know. As we are not taking driver for the day, actually. Esteban Ocon in P3 on his home Grand Prix, taking a podium then with the Alpine team. Doing a massive job, but let's go to the podium.
Ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly well-deserved win. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Here we are then with one of the most beautiful podiums I've seen in this series yet. Max Verstappen, of course, my current favorite driver, on the top step of the podium. Valtteri Bottas avoiding the shitbox cars in the real 2022 season, of course, on P2. And Esteban Ocon in his home Grand Prix taking a podium and 15 points for the Alpine team. As his teammate is of course DNF'd on lap 4, already having a completely shit race, but Ocon completely makes up for it in the constructor standings with that. Lewis Hamilton just in P11 outside of the points, as he has to make a late race 3rd pit stop actually for a front wing change, and I think Carlos Sainz had to do the same thing, which is why he is out of the points as well. 0 points for Ferrari, that is then. As Jack Aitken finished in P19, second to last, as just Mazepin has done worse. But this man, Jack Aitken, is just not doing great. Unless he pulls something really cool out of the bag at Austria, I think he's going to have to go in the summer break. But you'll have to wait and see for that one. As AlphaTauri actually overtakes McLaren in the constructor standings. So McLaren is now more our rival than ever, and we are still chasing AlphaTauri. But of course, as Tsunoda finished in P4 today, they have just slightly increased their gap with us, as our rivalry with Latifi is kind of unfair really, so we are going to be beating him 99% sure, unless I crash out of the Austrian Grand Prix, but I guess we'll have to wait, as we are going to go into rank 11 for the team Acclaim, then running oh so much closer to that 3rd secondary sponsor, and of course completing both of our extra cash objectives this weekend, completing all practice programs like I always do, and the 10 laps, which is 133, but we got it, the 57k of just weekly payouts. And then here we are with a total of 6.5 million right now. We've got the cash to replace Jack Aitken, but I'm going to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.